Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime series proudly powered by leadershipbydesign.co, where we aim to add value to people's lives. You can listen to us live every Wednesday and Thursday at lunchtime on ebizradio.com, where we talk about everything leadership, coaching, and marketing. And you can listen to the Lunchtime series on all your major podcast channels today, guys. In today's marketing and leadership segment, joining me as per usual, marketing and communications expert and co-host Craig Pagely. How are you doing, Craig?
Kevin, I'm great, thank you. Yeah, how are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. The winter's here. I'm feeling it. It's arrived. I know you like the cold, but
Yeah,
I'm struggling a little bit. So, and it's what's interesting about the weather, especially with South African weather, is in the mornings it's bloody freezing, but by 12 o'clock you're like undressing. Except today with the cloudiness. So it's
yeah. We've got thick cloud in the sky today, so definitely no traditional winter weather in Johannesburg, which again, you're right, it could get up to 17, 18, 19 degrees on some days, so what a pleasure. But see that your book's progressing well, considering the fact that you now at cover design stage, Kevin.
Yes, it's quite exciting to. I mean, it's taken 2 years. I mean, I've been talking about this bloody book forever, and like nobody believes that I'm actually doing it. But it's finally arrived and it's finally finished. It's actually in editing process. So the editor's sort of going through and making notes.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, we're doing book cover design so I'm aiming for this to be out and about and up in stores, and apparently it will be in Take-A-Lot as well, which is really cool. So you can actually, order it straight off Take-A-Lot. And yeah, it's the future of human is going to be, or the future of work is human. And that's going to be in stores hopefully by, I think, the end of June, July kind of thing. So
That's
that's when.
fantastic.
But when
And
it
have you got any?
going to
That's
announce.
awesome. We'll talk about that in one of the shows, most definitely. And then any sort of forward names that are going to give you a good intro on the book.
Well, I'm still finding one, Greg. I think I'm going to ask you to maybe forward it to me,
Fantastic.
or someone, because I need to still get that done. Because it's just it's the first book, so I'm proud of the fact that it is there. And it's a wonderful concept. It really unpacks the way of looking at the future of work in a bit of a different way, but it also creates a nice structure for people to kind of follow and kind of go, here's some of the important factors to consider as we evolve as humans, and how do we do that, and how does that sort of how do we showcase that, and what do we need to consider in aim of our evolution in our workspace.
That's very interesting because that, again, is just there's such synchronicity at times between our respective conversations because today's conversation has got a bias of focus on work and workspace.
Fantastic. But I mean, Craig, just before we kick off today's conversation, don't you want to give us a bit of a key reminder from our amazing conversation last week?
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. Yes, we definitely had a great conversation last week when we reviewed 13 customer-first marketing strategies to steal from Taylor Swift. We firstly got to learn a bit more about her incredible music achievements and about how she's dealt with adversity and the various emotional challenges that Taylor Swift faced throughout her career. So referencing the article, we note that adopting these three key principles, Kevin, will definitely set your marketing activities in the right direction. And the first one being get to know your customer. Firstly, by developing personas or buyer personas and then engaging with their social media and even going to the extent of joining or creating communities around their focus areas. The second is interact with your audience through the likes of emails, personalized videos, and even phone calls. And investing in your relationship will definitely give your customers a reason to invest in you. And the third point there was about stick to your company values. And these will keep your customers and employees on your side for the long haul, Kevin. So I quickly want to just look at a few other specific points that we covered in the article, not going through all 13, but picking up on 3 or 4. The first one is start with a marketing strategy, and this is about telling a story. And as a marketer, it's your job to tie your product into your brand story, because people love content that they can actually identify with. Use your buyer personas as the protagonist or lead character or champion of a cause in the story, and then use their pain points as the plot. And this will again help customers to envision themselves as your customer as you solve a problem or eliminate some of the pain points they have. The next point is make it personal. The more we rely on digital communications, the more essential personalized messaging becomes. The next point is meet customers where they are. And step 1 here is it's about identifying where your buyer persona spend most of the time. And then step 2 is studying how your ideal personas and customers actually interact online and tailor messages. For example, understanding the power of LinkedIn for professional updates and thought leadership, and the likes of Facebook for video. And then the last reminder point is restraint is key to relevance. Here, we understand that today's buyers are already battling for this huge information overload and content fatigue. So don't contribute to the clutter with irrelevant messaging. Segment your customer life stage cycles to ensure the right information is getting to the right audience at the right time and in the right channel, Kevin. And those are reminder points from last week.
Great. Just on that point, like one of the restraint is key. I've noticed that's because I mean, I know you've seen, I've been avidly, out there marketing and putting stuff out. And
yes,
as in the last couple of months, as we've moved and the marketing platforms are starting to evolve, I've kind of stopped. What I'm noticing now with restraint from actually restraining myself from posting anything, when I do post anything now, it actually gets attention. So it really throws a flip side on marketing in itself when you do kind of go, okay, now people are paying attention suddenly for a different reason.
Yes, absolutely.
So I definitely recommend people go and check that out, because those 13 strategies from Taylor Swift are brilliant. So go and check it out, guys. Craig, what are we going to be discussing about today?
Kevin, interestingly, I've seen a number of articles focusing on the future of work being published and appearing in my inbox, because obviously it's one of the topics that I follow quite a bit of. And 2 in particular stood out for me. The first was published by Gartner and was titled 9 Future Work Trends for 2023. And the second is published by McKinsey and Company and is titled What is the Future of Work? And both provide a really great insight into this topic, Kevin.
Fantastic. I am looking forward to it, because it's definitely right up my alley on the book that I'm publishing. So
absolutely, that's great. So to start off with, I want to reference a few definitions and actually what is meant by this term, the future of work. And it was quite insightful coming across some of these definitions and explanations. So firstly, according to the Society for Human Resource Management, simply put, the future of work is a projection of how workers and the workplace, I should say, will evolve in the years ahead. It's a topic that keeps many CEOs up at night as they make decisions that enable their organizations to thrive today while they prepare for the future. According to a Deloitte Insights feature article titled What is the Future of Work?, as written by Jeff Schwartz, Steve Hatfield, Robin Jones, and Siri Anderson, we learn that the future of work is a result of many forces of change affecting 3 deeply connected dimensions. And this was really key here, deeply connecting these dimensions of an organization. The first being work, the what, the second being the workforce, the who, and the third being the workplace, the where. And the Insights report makes the following important statement, Kevin. The new realities created by these forces of change present us with complex questions to consider, including ethics around human-machine collaboration, how we plan for 50 to 60-year careers, and actually how we unleash organizations through a continuum of talent sources. And there's also a really great chart that key questions for each of those three dimensions mentioned earlier, Kevin, and these are defined as follows. So firstly, the dimension of work. The question here is, what work can be automated? And with increasing robotics, cognitive and AI technologies, what work can be done by and with smart machines? The second dimension is workforce. And the question here is, who can do the work? With new talent platforms and contracts, who can do? How do we leverage the continuum of talent from full-time to managed services to freelancers to the gig workers and to crowds? And then the third dimension is workplace. And the question here is, where is the work done? A point that we talk about often. And with the new combinations of collaborative, teaming, digital reality technologies, how are the workplaces and work practices actually reshaping where and when work is done, Kevin? And these are three really important dimensions to include in any workplace strategy. And finally, according to McKinsey Explainer's article titled, "What is the Future of Work?" we learn the following. The future of work refers to an informed perspective on what business and other organizations need to know about how work could shift given digitization and other trends, plus how workforce and workplace can prepare for those changes, big and small.
Great, but I love the fact that it's just broken down into practicality. So like the what work can be automated, who are the people that and where they're going to do it.
Yes.
You can, like, that simple sort of structure already kind of gives you, because that can apply to certain types of industry would need to consider those three factors differently than other types.
Yes, correct, quite right.
And really, like using that as a sort of a measurement to, does this team need to be working in an office, or does this team need to be working, like, can they work from home?
Correct.
And I think companies also need to thinking of the future of work, there might be divisions that decide that and kind of go, because we're this division, I don't need to be at the office. I can be at the office once a week, right? And I think that's the kind of thinking that people really need to start embracing, because it's
absolutely. And as you say, it's three simple questions with three simple definitions behind them. And again, it's about creating that matrix for your organization holistically, and then going into a departmental or divisional a subset and trying to get to understand that. And on the back of that, from space design point of view, again, I talk about my architecture and interior design background is, I know that there are certain companies that are moving into new corporate head offices that have actually reduced their footprint size to the point that they cannot accommodate the entire staff population in the building at any one time, because their entire proposition is now predicated on the fact that there will be a movement of hybrid flow through the building, where some staff will be there on certain days and other staff on other days, and they'll never necessarily be there all together at one time, at one point in time.
Yeah, and I think, like, that whole agile, malleable kind of work, I think that's I think corporates they're going to struggle with it, but it's a necessity. It's what people require. It's what the future of work really looks like.
Absolutely.
Greg, you share with us from the Gartner article you mentioned earlier. What can you share with that?
Yeah, Kevin. So again, the Gartner article is titled Nine Future of Work Trends for 2023, and was published as recently as December 22. And the article was written by Emily Rose McRae and Peter Aikens, and opens with the following key statement: as we enter the third year, and it's amazing when you read this, the third year, how quickly we've moved past COVID. As we enter the third year since COVID-19 came into existence, the virus has proven to have a lasting impact on the future of work. In 2023, organizations face historic challenges, a competitive talent landscape, an exhausted workforce, and pressure to control costs. In this environment, it's imperative to tackle the following 9 trends as your organization sets strategic workforce and talent goals. And then it goes on to list the 9 forces, and I'll quickly read through the list before going into them in detail. So the first is quiet hiring, and this offers new ways to snag in demand talent. The second is hybrid flexibility reaches the front lines. Third is squeezed by competing leader and employees' expectations. Managers need support. The fourth is pursuit of non-traditional candidates expands talent pipelines. The fifth is healing pandemic trauma opens path to sustainable performance. The sixth is organizations push DEI forward amid growing pushbacks. The seventh is getting personal with employees support creates new data risks. The eighth is algorithmic bias concerns lead to more transparency in recruiting tech. And the ninth is Gen Z skills gaps reveal workforce-wide erosion of social skills. Interestingly, stuff we picked up on when we had a look at the Gen Z topic a while ago. So yeah, let's take a look at each of these in a little bit more detail. So again, starting with trend number one, quiet hiring offers new ways to snag in-demand talent. We learn the following. So we've all heard the term quiet quitting, which is defined as the ideas of employees actually refusing to go above and beyond and doing the minimum required in their job. So when employees quiet quit, organizations keep people but lose skills and capability. So 2023 will actually see a reverse of this practice, Kevin, with the principles of quiet hiring coming to the fore, which allows organizations to actually gain new skills and capabilities without adding any full-time employees to their headcount. And this will be achieved in the following three ways. So focus on internal talent reallocation or deployment to ensure employees address the priorities that matter most without changes in headcount. Stretch and upskilling opportunities for existing employees while meeting the evolving organizational needs. And then the third year is about adopting alternate approaches like leveraging networks, plugging into gig workers to gain access to the right talent as and when needed, Kevin.
Craig, I just want to, what I do want to say about the quiet hiring is if you are a leader in the world listening to that point right now, is you don't know what you don't know until you know you know. And that sentiment is, I've recently been, with one of the corporates that I work with, one of the HODs that left, and instead of just replacing the HOD, they've given the managers in that department space to kind of shine and kind of go, okay, cool. We're not going to replace the head, but can you step into a more important role? Can you take on more? Can you, and suddenly, just plain simply because they were given the opportunity, these two managers have literally upped themselves and started showing up in that work environment like never.
Fantastic.
That's why I say you don't know what you don't know until you know, right?
Yes.
Like leaders, really, the quiet hiring is actually far more prevalent and relevant and necessary than what people are realizing, because you might actually have the people you need right under your nose. They just need that motivation to want to be better and do better and show up for the company. So it's very possible that you already have all the talent you need.
Good point. So for trend number two, hybrid flexibility reaches the front lines. We learned the following here, Kevin. So while we experience a more permanent era of hybrid work for desk-based employees, it's actually important that organizations find that flexibility aspect for the frontline workers as well, like those particularly in manufacturing and healthcare. And the 2022 Gartner Frontline Workers Experience Reinvented survey noted that as much as 58% of organizations that employ frontline workers have actually invested in improving the employee experience in the past year. And the top role attractors for the segment include the following 4 points. First is control over the work schedule, paid leave, stability in the work schedule. And then frontline workers also expressed interest in other types of flexibilities, such as what they actually work on, who they actually work with, and what the amount of work actually is, Kevin.
I love that as an actual point, Craig, because when you look at an international standard of what work, what is required as an employee at an international standard, you're supposed to only work so many hours.
Yes.
And you need to be flexible, and you need to have leave, and you need to be able to, I've even heard of having an emotional sick day.
Yes.
In international
That's
standard,
incredible.
people are allowed to have an emotional sick day. right? And if you have a few in the month, like dude, maybe you need to see someone. At an international level, it's things like that employees need and employers need to consider. Like
Yes, absolutely.
that must, yeah.
Kevin, point number 3 is, excuse me, squeezed by competing leader and employee expectations, managers need support. And we learned the following here. So we've noted before that a lot of managers are actually out of their depth due to the increase of demands of today's working environment, pressures placed on them by managers, and they really are required to implement a corporate strategy on one end while actually trying to accommodate the hybrid working model on the other end, while still being dependent on to provide support through the sense of purpose, flexibility, and actually driving career growth opportunities for their teams as well, which is a real challenge. So here, the best organizations will apply 2 simple key actions to relieve pressure on managers in 2023, Kevin. First is provide fresh support and training to reduce this widening skills gap. And secondly is clarify manager priorities. Clarify how managers should actually allocate their time and redesign their roles when necessary, Kevin. Moving to, it's a great point, that it really is. So moving to trend number 4, pursuit of non-traditional candidates expands talent pipelines. And you and I have had some good chats around here. And here we learned the following, that organizations have been talking about the strategic value of expanding and diversifying their talent pipelines for a while now. And 2 key trends have emerged coming out of this realm of thought, Kevin. Firstly, employees are charting non-linear paths in careers, with 56% of candidates reported actually applying for jobs outside of their current area of expertise. And this figure is expected to rise significantly in the years to come. And the second point here is that organizations can actually no longer actually meet their talent need through traditional sourcing methods and candidate pools. And added to this, hiring managers are now actually less concerned about industry experience and technical skills than they were previously. But to fill critical roles in 2023, organizations will need to become much more comfortable assessing candidates solely on their ability to perform the roles, Kevin, not their credentials and prior experience. And generally, this is the time to rethink the outdated assumptions about qualifications.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that that's a point, because usually and generally the assumption is, like, does this person have a degree? Does this person have X, Y, and Z? And instead of that, rather look at, what experience does this person have, and does what they're capable of doing complement the role? Because then you also widen the scope of who is going to be in that environment. It's a necessary need for people to make assumptions on, does this person have the quality and experience to do it, not just the qualification?
Yes, absolutely. Now, point 5 is interesting, because you picked up on the point of post-pandemic trauma. So healing pandemic trauma opens paths to sustainable performance, and we learn.
This is why I think I'm a futurist. I'm seeing the future, and I should share it with people, because I've been talking about, like, the trauma that we've experienced. Like, people haven't even acknowledged that it has been trauma. It's been an absolute traumatic experience that we've kind of just moved on with, and we've left it as this thing we don't really talk about, right? And yet there's so much shit. There's so much stuff that's left that's left behind that people need to deal with. So I'm so glad that this is a point.
And interestingly, one of the points from last week with the Taylor Swift proposition, at least marketing strategies, was, stuff happens. Learn how to deal with it. So yes, so Kevin, most of us are still experiencing mental health challenges as a result of this, not just the pandemic, but this current societal and economic pressure that we faced with every day as well. And this is a direct impact on productivity and performance, with as many of 82% of employees actually wanting their organizations to see them as a whole person rather than as an employee, and really to get to understand the emotional challenges and construct of their life, Kevin. So three points that stand out here. In 2023, the best organizations are going to implement the following. They're going to be proactive, deliver proactive rest to help employees maintain their emotional resilience and performance, rather than just offering rest recovery services. This includes no meeting Fridays, scheduled wellness times, and actual managers ensuring that their teams take adequate paid time off. And these high demand jobs are really squeezing people to the nth degree, and people are forsaking their leave just to stay in the job and feel that their job security is in place. The second point is discussion opportunities to work through challenges and difficult topics without judgment and consequence. Important points, those. And go for it.
No, sorry, I was just going to say no meeting Fridays. I'm like, South Africa's so far away from
believe me. 4:30 p.m. meetings on a Friday. It's just,
and just from a human behavior perspective, like 90% chance that the people who are called to that meeting really just don't give a shit. They really don't. They're sitting there going, oh God, this could have been a Monday morning meeting. We could have done this on email. Like, nobody cares. It's Friday afternoon. Stop doing it, because you're actually underproductive. You're underproductive.
It goes back to that quiet disengagement point as well. Whilst they may be present, they're not engaged, and they're not adding any value to the organization. Yeah,
your brain's not even functioning, Craig. Like your brain's, you've had so many meetings, you've been doing so much, you've had a whole week of doing and dealing, and at that point your brain's kind of going, man, I just feel like whiskey right now. Your brain's not engaged. You're just answering because you're on the call, and they asked you a question and you said, yes, I'm here. Like, nothing is actually happening on a Friday at 4:30. Like, so I don't know why people do it. It's actually stupid.
Quite right. And then the third point relative to the third implementation point here is that trauma counselors on site to provide on-site counseling, to train and coach managers on workplace conflict, and to help them be able to have these difficult conversations with employees, because they're faced with more and more of these conversations as times get tougher, Kevin.
Yeah.
Moving to trend 6, organizations push diversity, equity, and inclusion forward amid growing pushback. And this was a really interesting point for me here. So some of the employees are showing signs of resistance, with as many as 42% stating that they actually believe the organization's DEI efforts are divisive, with a growing number of employees feeling alienated by or even resent their organization's DEI efforts, Kevin. Employee pushback invalidates, disrupts, or disconnects from any programs that are meant to enable marginalized groups, often unintentionally. The pushback may, however, decrease engagement and inclusion, and ultimately result in attrition of in many instances, key staff. And in 2023, the best leaders will address the opportunities to overcome this opposition early, before it evolves into more disruptive forms of resistance, Kevin.
And do you know why, Craig? Because the people offering DEI solutions also need to evolve what they're offering.
Yeah.
We stop with we know that people are from different races. We know that we have different cultures. We know we have different religions. That's not the point. No one's walking in there going, oh my goodness, you're an Indian and you're from you speak with a different. No one's oblivious of the fact that there's differences. Yes. What needs to happen is to understand how we engage and how inclusively we can be as human beings. And what does that look like? How do I create psychological safety and really engage at a level with someone, but from a human to human position? No one cares about your religion and your, the twang in your English. What they care about is, oh, I'm a human and you're a human. How do we see the world? And how do we get the best out of each other because we see the world differently?
Yes, absolutely.
Conversation. Then
absolutely.
the DEI efforts that are happening at the moment and the training, people should phone me because I'll help them fix it properly.
Yep, great. Moving to trend 7, getting personal with employee support creates new data risks. Again, another really important point. So organizations are embracing technologies like AI assistants, wearable technology, etc., to actually collect data on employees, even keyboard key tracking being used to collect data on employees' health, family situations, living conditions, mental health, and even sleep patterns in order to respond more effectively to the needs. Big risk here, Kevin, is that this presents a real privacy crisis as technological capabilities are expanding faster than leaders can actually fully understand and control. And in 2023, Kevin, employees must prioritize transparency around how they collect, use, and store employee data, as well as allow employees to actually opt out of these practices that they find objectionable. And they need to start building an employee data bill of rights to support your employees' needs for healthy boundaries, in addition to the overall well-being of mind state, Kevin. Moving to point 8, algorithmic bias concerns lead to more transparency in recruiting tech. And yeah, we learned that organizations that actually use AI and machine learning in their hiring process will need to be proactive and get ahead of new government regulations on privacy. And these regulations are going to evolve on a continuum. They must be more transparent about how they're actually using AI. They need to publicize their data audits, and they need to give employees and candidates the choice to actually opt out from any AI-led processes, Kevin. And again, as more organizations begin using AI in recruitment, the ethical implications of these practices for fairness, diversity, and inclusion and data privacy become really, really salient points for consideration. And then moving to the final trend of the report, Kevin, Gen Z skills gaps reveal workforce-wide erosion of social skills. And the 4 points we learn here is that social isolation brought about by the pandemic has definitely impacted on young people, with 46% of Gen Z employees surveys saying that the pandemic actually made them pursue the educational or career goals, make the pursuit of their career or goals more difficult, with 51% saying that their education has not prepared them to enter the workforce sufficiently. And that's a major concern, Kevin. Gen Z has definitely missed out on developing soft skills such as negotiating, networking, speaking confidently in front of crowds, and developing the social stamina and attentiveness required to work these long hours. And this lack of experience preparedness is definitely going to have a negative impact on organizations, especially as they aim to hire cheap talent in light of these tight and highly competitive market practices, Kevin. And that's it. Everyone's social skills have actually eroded since the pandemic, with the likes of burnout, exhaustion, and even career insecurity, all heightened by pandemic, but negatively impacting performance, unfortunately. And organizations will need to redefine professionalism for the entire workforce to address this really growing challenge, Kevin. And these are 9 high impacting trends that create real opportunities for organizations to differentiate themselves as employees of choice, Kevin.
Well, and Craig, I mean, like, that's also one of the reasons why there's businesses like mine, because these skills that they, negotiating, networking, speaking confidently in front of crowds, all of that, those are skills, soft skills that we teach, right?
Yes.
So, and because of the evolution of what's happening in the world and how it's permeating into corporates, it creates opportunities for brands like myself to go out and go, okay, well, we can help you take care of that set of skills, like the DEI situation. But
yes.
What are the key takeaways for our listeners on today?
Kevin, for the key takeaways, I want to reference the Deloitte article again. And as a reminder, the Deloitte's interpretation is that the future of work is a result of many forces of change affecting 3 deeply connected dimensions of an organization, namely work, the what, workforce, the who, and workplace, the where. And these dimensions were unpacked in more detail, each of those key questions to answer when defining the workforce strategies. So firstly, the question to dimension one, work, is what can be automated. Now, with increasing robotics, cognitive AI technologies, what work can be done with smart machines, the key point here is that when we enter the cognitive revolution, organizations are again redefining work to create valuable human-machine collaborations, shifting from the understanding of a work from a task completion to a problem-solving and human relationship model, which is really encouraging. The second dimension of workforce, with that key question that we mentioned earlier being what can work do, the new talent platforms and contracts who can do the work, how do we leverage the continuum of talent from full-time to managed service to freelance gig workers and crowds? The key point that's addressed here is that the social contracts between employers and employees has changed, and organizations can actually now select from a broad spectrum of options in finding workers, from hiring traditional full-time employees to actually accessing managed services and outsourcing models, independent contractors, gig workers, and even crowdsourcing. And the new workforce types can solve problems, get work done, and help leaders build a much more flexible and nimble organization, Kevin. And then the third dimension, as I mentioned, is workplace. And the question there we had was, where is the work done? So with the new combination of collaborative teaming and digital reality technologies, how are the workplace and work practice reshaping where and when work is done? The key point that comes out of this here is that digital communication, collaboration platforms, and digital reality technologies, coupled with societal and marketplace changes, have allowed and created much more opportunities for more distributed teams. And we spoke about the office environment a short while ago. And in closing on this point, organizations are now actually able to create and combine a mix of these options as they actually reimagine their workplaces from those traditional collated workplaces to those that are much more completely distributed and dependent to a large degree on virtual interactions. And those are the key takeaways for today, Kevin.
Fantastic. I love that. So dimension work, the workforce, and the workplace. So I think it gives you like a beautiful practical way of just considering what the future of work is. Guys, so if you want to hear more about it, you're going to meet us every Thursday on ebizradio.com around 12 o'clock. Craig, and I got Theodore Hook here for you for a quote today. And the best way, and I think it applies to exactly what you've been speaking about, the best way to predict the future is to invent it.